This video was produced by
Hi, I'm Remy Pengel with the Center for Wind Energy at James Madison University, and today I'm going to show you how to make a pinwheel. So pinwheels are a very simple activity to start kids thinking about how wind can do work and how a wind turbine or windmill works. So the first thing that we need is a square piece of paper. Mine are relatively small, but you can make these of any size. But square is the important part. You'll also need either a pencil or a straw, something that we're going to attach the pinwheel to. You'll need straight pins. And again, straight pins are something that you can find at Michael's or any sewing store, but also at Walmart. And the balls on the end just make them easier for the kids to work with. We'll also need a spacer to go behind the pinwheel so that it will spin freely. And for a spacer, you can use many things. Beads work really well. Because of the volume of which I make these, I buy these. They're like you make iron plastic art out of them, but they make a very good spacer. So anything that looks kind of like a bead will work. And then lastly, I have foam, again from Michael's or Walmart or any place that you can find crafts materials. They're the foam mat, like you can get a square piece of foam that's thin, and I cut it into small pieces. That way, if the pin sticks out of the back of the pinwheel, I can make sure that there's a piece of foam there to protect the kids' fingers from getting poked. So we'll talk about that when we assemble. But again, all these materials are relatively cheap and easy to find. So the first thing that we're going to do, I find it very helpful to prep my pinwheel paper before I try assembling it. So the first thing I do is you would cut the corners. So not all the way to the center, maybe about halfway to the center, cut a straight line. And as you can see, the papers that I have already had the lines in the corners, and it also has a dot in the middle. And I find this very helpful for assembling your pinwheel when you have to do it quickly and with a lot of kids. So the next thing that I do to prepare for a quick assembly is I poke a hole in the corner of every other corner. So skip this one, poke a hole. Skip this one, poke a hole. This way, it makes for an easier assembly of my pinwheel. So the next part is actually assembling my pinwheel. So I'm going to pick, this is a method that I do. It's kind of maybe the more advanced method of doing this, especially if teachers are doing many of these for their students. I come in from the back, so this is the back of my pinwheel, and I go through the first hole, and then I basically just continue to go in from the back of each of the ones that's already poked. So every other, I come in from the back, and that way everything is already threaded. And then I can find the black dot in the middle, and I poke through the back, and I've got a nice little pinwheel. So the reason that I do this is because it keeps the puffiness of my pinwheel, and it'll allow it to catch the wind better. I'll show you the second method before I show you how to attach it. So the second method, you still got to cut the corners. But in this method, you don't have to pre-poke all the holes. All you do is have the students fold every other corner, so again the every other, and make sure they overlap in the middle. So that's it. Every other corner that overlaps in the middle. And they can fold them down so that everything stays. And if they overlap in the middle, then this is the part where the teacher will likely have to help them. But using that straight pin, you're going to hopefully poke through all 4 of those at the same time and come out the back. So this, again, makes it so the students can do this on their own, and then you'll just have to help them poke through. But then we have to do the fluffing. So this isn't going to catch a lot of wind. See how flat it is. So we have to go in and we have to fluff each of these so it looks more like the other one. And as you're fluffing, you may find that you didn't catch one of the tips, and you can always go back and fix that. But it looks like we did a pretty good job today. So they look about the same. So either method works. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how to take your pinwheel and attach it. And again, we have two different stems we can attach our pinwheels to. One is the pencil and one is the straw. And so the reason we have the 2 different methods is because the pencils get expensive if you're going to do many, many, many of these. So cutting a straw in half and then sticking a piece of the foam on the back of it to make sure they don't pinch themselves on the pin ends up being a little bit cheaper if you're doing these in a high volume. So the first method, you're going to take the pencil and you still have to add your bead in the back. So you need to add your spacer behind your pinwheel. And then your pin is going to go into the eraser. The trick here is to go in at an angle, so the idea is that the pin does not come out the other side of the eraser, but actually hits the metal holder. So if I come in at an angle, it doesn't go through, and I don't have any safety issues with the pin poking out. And then you have a really nice little pinwheel that spins in the wind. Now with the second method, you've got your pinwheel. Again, we need to add our spacer to the back. So we stick the bead on. Now this time, we're going to take our straw and we're going to go straight through the straw, not too far. And then we can take a piece of foam and we go over the back of that pin, so there's no pin poking out. And again, I did this wrong. We should try to come down at an angle because it also cuts back on how much the pinwheel whacks the straw when it spins. So you want it further away. But this one also spins in the wind. And that is how you make a pinwheel.